Hi, this is Andrea Kane, and I'm back again to talk to you about The Language of Medicine, 12th edition by Davy Allen Chabner for HSC 114. We are now on Chapter 4, and Chapter 4 is all about prefixes. So let's move on. We're going to define basic prefixes used in the medical language. We're going to analyze medical terms that combine prefixes and other word elements and learn about the RH condition as an example of an antigen-antibody reaction. Here are some combining forms and their meanings. You'll notice that in the combining forms, most of the combining vowels, again, are the letter O. And you'll see again, but look, NAT over here, middle of the page, NAT, that one is uses an I. So you want to make a note of that, a special note of that when you're working on your flashcards, that NAT as a root uses an I as a combining vowel, not an O. And we'll keep going. Do you notice at the top the difference between somn and san? One is sleep, the other is sound. The difference again, one letter can make. These are some suffixes that we will add to our vocabulary of suffixes that we have already learned. You're going to want to watch out for plasia and plasm. Again, nia, it's right underneath plasm. The P is silent, so it's dyspnea or apnea. So you'll be thinking about that. Typically, when there's a P in front of an N or a T, you don't pronounce the P, like pneumonia. But with plasm, plasia, phoria, physis, there's a little bit of that P in there to change it up. So moving on, here are some prefixes. Notice a and an mean no, not, without. So sometimes you'll use a and sometimes you'll use an. And you'll notice here, there's all sorts of different ones that you're going to need to be aware of. Brady means slow, tacky will mean fast. So look for some of your opposites as you go through here to help you. Bradycardia, slow heart rate. Tachycardia, fast heart rate. And you'll see D and dia. Again, a careful difference in pronunciation. D and dia, they mean two totally different things. You have U and X, EU and EX. Those again, difference of one letter, but a big difference in the meaning behind those. Excuse me, which would change your answers. We already talked about hyper and hypo and the need to be very careful when saying those or writing those. In can mean not, but it also can mean into and within. So you're going to need to watch out for that. Infra and intra. Again, it's that one letter difference, but there's a difference between the meanings. So watch out for those. And some more prefixes. Pair, peri. It's different going through something versus something that surrounds it. So be careful with those. Opposites, pre and post. Pre before, post after. So you're going to want to keep those in mind as you study as a pair. Sin and sim. Again, those both mean together or with, but when do you use sin versus when do you use sim? You'll be wanting to pay attention to that. And then we talked about tacky earlier. Tacky and Brady are opposites. Brady is slow, tacky is fast. So which term means a muscle that draws a limb toward the body? And then let you check your book. Make sure that you know. Which term means painful breathing? I'm going to have you check your book. So let's talk about antigens and antibodies, and specifically the Rh condition. An antigen is a substance usually foreign to the body that stimulates the production of antibodies to attack it. Antibodies are protein substances made up by white blood cells that are in response to the presence of foreign antigens and usually want to attack those antigens. They're the reaction. So an antigen is the foreign substance that causes antibodies to be produced. The antibodies are the defense, the fight back of against the antigen. An Rh condition. This happens with a pregnant mother and a baby. So when there's a difference in the Rh blood factor, that's when it's going to happen. If the mom is Rh negative and the baby is Rh positive, you have that antigen antibody reaction. Because the mom, her blood is Rh negative, and that's what she's used to, and now she's got a baby within her growing and taking from her, and it's Rh positive, and that has a difference, and it causes the reaction. So it gives you the example about how your first pregnancy, if you are Rh positive or Rh negative and the baby is positive, that's what it looks like. And then you see at the delivery, the antigen is passed from baby to mom, and then the mom makes an antigen. There's usually no problem for the baby at this point until the second pregnancy, and that's when it attacks the baby, is the second pregnancy, because it's had that time frame in between to develop those antibodies. The antigen has reacted. So it talks about antibodies are made up by what type of cell? Think those white blood cells, those warrior cells. Now it talks about congenital anomalies. That's where there's an irregularity when an infant is born. Gives you some examples of those. Recombinant DNA, taking a gene from one organism, inserting it into the DNA of another organism. This is a good example of how they manufacture insulin outside the body. Syndromes. What is a syndrome? It's a group of signs or symptoms that commonly occur together and indicate a particular disease or abnormal condition. And then it gives you the example of Rye syndrome. Transurethral resection of the prostate gland, a TURP. Transurethral resection of the prostate. And that's where they remove a portion of it with an instrument. They typically do this if the prostate gland has grown over time and is interfering with the ability to urinate. And so they go in, they destroy some of the tissue, it frees up that ability to continue to urinate without problems. So transurethral resection of the prostate is a TURP program, or TURP procedure, and that's what it's all about. Ultrasounds. For any of you who happen to know someone who has been pregnant and has been able to see an ultrasound, a lot of times that's used to produce an image of the baby in the uterus. And so you see the sonogram as a fetal ultrasound image. An echocardiogram is an ultrasound image of the heart as it's beating. It gives you an idea of what's going on with whatever it is that you're viewing. And we will cover more about ultrasonography in week 2 when we talk about radiology and nuclear medicine with oncology. So we'll get into some of that there. All right, that is it for Chapter 4. I hope you're doing well, and we will look at Chapter 5 next week. Take care.